Alrighty, let's get started. Thank you for joining. This is the NextGen HQM and MIPS submission webinar. Again, everybody is in listen-only mode. You will be receiving a copy of the recording as well as the slides after. Usually you get that in an email within a day or so. Alrighty, any questions you have, there's a questions box at the bottom right-hand corner. Submit your questions during the presentation. We might be able to get to those at the end. We might not. We do have a lot of ground to cover as usual, but if it is not there, if we don't have time, then we will make sure that you do get a follow-up afterwards with the answer. So feel free to submit your questions along the way. eMedApps, if you are not familiar with who we are a healthcare information technology services company providing practices and clinics and hospitals with a full range of services as well as a suite of products designed to increase efficiency and facilitate communication. We were founded in 1999. We work as a partner with NextGen since 2001. We work as a subcontractor for NextGen. We serve healthcare clients across the USA, and we do services and products for NextGen clients. All right, if you are not following us on our social media platforms, please do. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we also have a YouTube channel. Many of our webinar recordings are out there as well, so feel free to explore at your leisure. And let me go ahead and give you a few tidbits. Christina Iterog is our specialist today. She has years of experience not only in the healthcare industry, but with NextGen and with government regulatory. So she will be great to present this to you today. There you go, Christina.
All right, thank you, Holly. And hello, everybody. Thanks for joining today. As Holly noted, I have some experience in healthcare. I've actually been in the healthcare industry for over 20 years now. I started my career in a hospital setting and then moved to a private practice setting, working with over 100 staff providers and a residency program. And we also had multiple locations. My additional roles have been in healthcare administration, management, training, and IT. And all those roles kind of provided a solid background before I transitioned to my first consulting role. I've now been with eMedApps for about a little over 4 years now. And my favorite part of my role here is meeting new people, finding and implementing new solutions for the different challenges that many of you face. Couple of my favorite things are greyhounds, the dog breed. I love going to concerts and music. Favorite place to travel is New York City, and reading, my favorite genre is horror. Fun fact about me, I have one state left in the United States to see, which is Alaska, and that's on my bucket list. So let's go ahead and start talking about NextGen's HQM tool. Just so you guys know, NextGen has a great HQM resource page, which allows you to gather a bunch of knowledge and reference different areas. So I've included the link on the presentation so that you're able to get to that easily in the success community. It's a fantastic page. It includes different guides, recorded trainings, webinar information, troubleshooting tips, and links to different white papers and resources. So check it out for sure. You can find some great information there. So what is NextGen's HQM tool? So the HQM tool is a reporting module and a clinical data repository used for registry reporting. So it allows you to report clinical outcomes and quality measure data. After you've selected specific incentive programs and measures, the engine collects and extracts data from your report server, which allows the generation of your reports. NextGen HQM is an improved data submission vendor and has the ability to submit various performance-based incentive programs, including MIPS, CPC+, the Medicaid promoting interoperability, accountable care organization information, along with the clinical quality measures. And just a reminder for the 2021 Medicaid Promoting Interoperability Program that ends this year. So you have that 90-day EHR ECQM reporting period, which the deadline is December 31st. Check with your state for their specific deadlines related to that program. So within the HQM, you have various user roles that you have the ability to set up. So your administrator, when you're able to access the HQM tool, will set you up with a different role. The administrator is able to perform the configuration, set up new users, set up reporting tasks, and kind of run the HQM tool by allowing access, etc. So that one is a very important role. You'll also, might be a practice administrator, report practice user, which wouldn't be able to kind of modify or configure things, but definitely a few different user roles are available for setup and access to the tool. So most end users wouldn't use that multi-client administrator role since it's a specialized role. What it does is it allows the end user that has this feature the ability to perform like all different client administrator tasks from multiple client groups. So it would be used when you're responsible for managing multiple HQM portals. Specialized setups needed for that. So most of you probably wouldn't have that role. Let's go through some basic navigation of the tool. So if you didn't know, on your top menu bar, you have 4 options available. So you have your home navigational tab, which allows you to display the home page. Your admin allows you to navigate to your administrative function menu. Reports gives you a menu of the available reports you have. Configuration is where you're going to go to configure all the different areas of the NextGen tool. Your bottom menu bar, if you didn't know, launches different websites and links for NextGen, their legal notices, and also has client resource page, which takes you directly to your success community. And then the CMS website is also available by clicking on the CMS wording. So once you gain access and once you've been set up to access the HQM tool, you can access your user profile. The little user profile icon allows you to kind of view your profile, edit some things in your profile, as well as shows you basic information about you. The only thing that you're unable to kind of alter here is your username. So just so you're aware of that, other information can be altered in this location, changing your password, first name, last name, etc. Once you're in that user profile area, just so you know, you also have the ability to set up kind of user role email subscriptions, okay? So depending on your role, subscription alerts for like various events within the HQM are available. You can set them up so you can monitor different things and statuses within the system. Couple different alerts include, the database connection area, error, which would let you know that the HQM service is unable to connect to your report or audit database. Alerts for disk space, if the file was received, if anything's behind schedule, job errors are big ones that people sign up for, just letting you know that something happened. Heartbeat not received is letting you know that NextGen hasn't received any communication from your HQM service. So these are different kind of alerts that you definitely want to review and have somebody get notifications on to make sure that your system is running appropriately. Again, just some different areas where you can subscribe to the alerts. Green check mark lets you know that you're subscribed. If it's grayed out, you're not. So that gives you the ability to kind of set and review those different alerts. Just so you know, email notifications are sent usually once a day, and I believe it's around 9 a.m. Central Time that those are sent to you. So any information or events that happen would be sent via that email, all in one email, not separately. So you're logged in, and let's just kind of review what's available on your homepage. So you'll be able to kind of see your site name, any kind of data processing information, NextGen system messages or alerts or custom messages related to you, and then your latest and favorite reports. So one of the most important things that you need to do is view your job status, right? So this kind of breaks down your data processing, shows you kind of when the last time your data was extracted, when the upload was completed, alerts you if a job's in progress, and it also includes that last process date. So green is completed, blue's executed or in progress, and white means it just hasn't started yet. So the area also kind of provides detail on the date that your latest data was extracted and the number of days for that data delay. So if you're looking in here and that last data date is like way in the past, that means something's going on and you kind of need to get that resolved so that your reports generate appropriately and accurately. So just a little information on different report data here. So information is pulled from your copy of production. Again, data is usually 1 day behind the last process date. Make sure that you work with your IT team to make sure your report server is getting refreshed on a daily basis so that your clinical data is current and that your reporting is accurate. Typically, when you get your HQM tool set up, the data delay is set to like 14 days. This kind of allows for encounter closing and completion. And note that this can be adjusted if you reach out to your HQM analyst or open a NextGen HQM support ticket. A lot of people don't know this, but you do have the availability to search for different white papers on measure specifications right in the HQM tool. So next to your user profile is that little search icon, and this kind of allows you to kind of type in wording, or if you know the CMS number or measure number, you can kind of search that way. But it does allow you to pull up that white paper information, which provides that detailed information and specifications regarding each of the measures and how to identify the workflow that's needed within NextGen to meet the measure. So you can just click on it, it'll pull up and you're able to download and review that measure information right from the HQM tool. So no kind of navigating out and in, it's all right there at your fingertips. So we'll get a little bit into now configuration. So configuration is needed because proper configuration drives your accurate reporting. So during our time today, I'm not going to be able to hit all of these in every single detail or piece of configuration. However, if you have questions on specific things that we didn't review today, please feel free to reach out, or again, navigate and review that NextGen HQM resource page, which will provide you with lots of additional information as well. So basic configuration that's needed for your MIPS reporting is your practices, providers, measures, the PI configuration, payer Medicare verification, and setting up any test patients so they're not populated on your reports. As you're running your reports and reviewing the information, this could alert you, like if different providers aren't showing up or measure information, it doesn't seem to be populating correctly. This could be due to errors with your configurations. So this area and settings are the first thing to check when you kind of are working through and troubleshooting any kind of report discrepancies. We'll start with our practices configuration piece. So practices configuration, this option allows you to enable and disable practices, set up your reporting credit, update the personal health record or view the personal health record enable date, set your practice TINs and select those TINs if you have multiple, manage your locations, your providers that are going to be reporting, and your places of service. So reminder, again, this information is pulled from your file maintenance. So if errors are found here or noted here, best practice would be to correct those in your file maintenance area of the application first, and then come back to the HQM tool to kind of review that corrected information and make your selections if needed. So this option is super necessary because it allows you to enable all those different specifics related to your practice for the MIPS reporting. So enabling and disabling practices and participation can just be done by making sure there's a green check mark if you want them activated, and then unselecting if those practices that are populated here aren't participating in the program. Setting your credited provider just allows you to select who you want to give credit to for specific information on an encounter. So rendering, self-explanatory, supervising, and then rendering and supervising options are all available here. Just so that you know, supervising options might be used in any kind of educational institutions or practices where maybe a residency program or supervising providers are in play. Viewing your PHR is available in that area as well. So really important that you have the PHR enabled because if you don't, or if you know that, or if you see that it's not enabled here and activated, the results that you're pulling for any of your PI reporting, including the patient electronic access measure, will kind of show as 0. So obviously, if you have zeros for this area, you wouldn't be able to report for this PI category in the MIPS program. So make sure that you have that reviewed and that you have that PHR enabled for the MIPS reporting period. A green check mark just alerts you to let you know that it's currently enabled. If you see an X, that means that the PHR was enabled previously, but for some reason it's since been disabled. And then if the column's blank, that just shows that PHR has never been enabled. So really important to kind of just double check that area and make sure if you see an issue that you open a ticket for the NextGen team to kind of review and assist you in resolving that issue. Setting your practice TINs. So TINs are available to select right in the practice TIN location there. It will bring up your different practices, show you the TINs that are available for selection there, and allow you to select and save. So unavailable means that the TIN is unavailable. Unselected might have a status showing you that the TIN's available, but you haven't selected anything yet. And then your number of TINs allows you to show you how many TINs you've selected for that practice. So make sure that if more than one TIN's available for your practice, that you've selected them all and saved them. The locations area of configuration there allows you to kind of enable and disable practice locations. So again, the green check mark just lets you know that you've selected the location. If for some reason maybe a location is closed or anything like that, you'll want to make sure that you've updated your HQM tool and unselected that practice so that it doesn't populate on your reports. So providers area, make sure that you guys are, selecting that provider icon and selecting the providers that are currently active for your reporting. If they're not selected here, they're not going to populate on your report. So really important to kind of review that information on a regular basis, and that you guys are aware that whoever is monitoring your HQM tool, if a provider leaves the organization or anything like that, or a new provider starts, that person's kind of alerted so that they can come in here and make sure they're disabling and activating providers as applicable. So our places of service area is where you can set up your places of service. So again, enabling and disabling is very self-explanatory. A green check mark just shows that you have it enabled, and then to disable, you just unselect. All right, so we'll move on and we'll kind of go through our provider email, NPI and TIN area of configuration. So navigating and selecting under the config menu, the provider email, NPI and TIN will bring up your location where you can review and validate the information that you have related to each provider. Again, just remember that this information does pull from your file maintenance, so you want to make sure that if you've updated something or if you see an error that you're resolving that in file maintenance and then coming back in here to resolve the error or the issue here as well. So this area kind of just allows you to review provider names, any kind of email details, any kind of EHR, TIN information that's been populated, as well as their NPI information. So verifying the NPI selection checks the participating provider information against a database of verified NPIs. So this is needed if your status shows as unverified. You want to make sure that you're actually selecting the verify NPI information here so that you are able to get that verification status instead of the unverified status. Same thing with your TINs as well. So TINs allow you to, verify the TIN against a database of TINs, and the override verify option can be used if the information that's pulled from family file maintenance is incorrect or missing. Again, recommendation is to fix it in file maintenance first, but just know that you do have that option available here as well. And the show unverified option just provides you a list of any kind of provider information that's showing as unverified. Also, one thing to know that many people don't know is that you're able to kind of check your participation status right from the HQM tool. So that search icon, link will take you to the CMS participation lookup tool, and you can check that status for that specific NPI number there right from the HQM tool. Obviously, it navigates you to CMS, but you do have the ability to kind of get that information right at your fingertips. And just so you know, if a provider's participation status has been checked, the search icon that you select will populate with a little check mark inside of it. So that kind of just shows you that the status has been checked. So great resource there for quickly identifying and checking your participation status. All right, we'll move on a little bit to measure configuration. So measure configuration allows you to add and remove providers, measures, and also allows you to update and change your reporting periods. So the MIPS program has a total of 4 categories for reporting, and the HQM tool allows us to submit 3 out of the 4. So your improvement activities, your promoting interoperability measures, and your quality measures all can be submitted right through your HQM tool. We all know that the cost category is based and calculated using your claim information, so we're not submitting any additional information for that here. So configuration for those 3 categories that we discussed, the IA, PI, and quality, are all based around either individual or group reporting options. So once you've selected the applicable program, then you'll go ahead and configure measures related to that specific program or category. If you don't see the appropriate year or program that you need enabled, make sure that you contact your NextGen HQM specialist, or you open a NextGen HQM ticket so that they can update and have those correct programs added for you. Once you have selected your practice, from the practice list, if you have more than one practice, make sure that you verify that you've got the practice selected and you're working on the right one while you're doing your configuration. So some features include availability to filter your providers. You'll be able to kind of see any measures that have already been configured for a provider here, and you'll also be able to view that list of measures that have been added, as well as look at the reporting period that's currently configured for the different providers within your system. If you didn't know, the NPI status for a provider also shows here. So it lets you kind of see that the NPI information's been verified and it's green. If for some reason the NPI information has not been verified, it will show as red with an X in the background. You can also set and change your reporting period by clicking on the calendar icon, that's available when you've selected the provider name or measure area. Allows you to kind of change that different reporting period here. So you can change it for an individual provider, or you do have the option to also change it for the full group of providers as well. So if we're adding measures, we want to start by selecting the little plus sign, which is the green icon. Once you select that, you'll navigate to the adding measures page. And from here, this is where you're going to select your practice, your provider, and the measures that you want to use for your reporting. Measure descriptions can be viewed and are available. So if you hover over the specific measure number and description, you'll be able to kind of get those details related to that measure. NextGen also does a really nice job and kind of alerts you to high priority, inverse, and outcome measure information as well. So it's really simple to get those added and kind of review details related to the measure before selection. And then once you select a measure, the area will populate with a little bit of a green check mark just to kind of let you know what you currently have configured. Any kind of mandatory measure information for like self-attestation measures or for your PI category will display with a star. So that kind of will alert you, like you can't unconfigure that, that has to be configured. So that's a really nice resource to kind of review and use. I'm just showing that star area for required measures. And then NextGen also provides additional information like CMS guidelines or notes regarding specific measures if it's applicable. And you'll be able to kind of see that with that little alert area there, giving you that information that CMS has made available. So really easy to kind of look at, view specifics for all of the different categories and measures that are available. So your selections, you've gone through and you've added your measures. When you're ready, you're going to navigate to your schedule section. And from here, this is where you're going to select and set your program schedule. You'll see the green bar at the bottom of the tool as you're scrolling down that will ask you to complete, and you want to add the measures, and you click on that. And then you'll get another little information bar showing that the measures are being added to that to those providers that you've selected. So really user-friendly, easy way to add measures. Now, in some cases, there may be times that measures need to be removed. So if this is needed, you can delete measures from your providers by navigating back to that measure configuration page. So individual measures, if you select a provider, you'll see an X at the bottom of the provider. And if you select this X, this will remove all measures that you've configured. So make sure you really want to delete all the measures and utilize this feature. If you've made a mistake, you do have the option to go back instead of clicking on that red X. But if you do want to remove the measures from that specific provider or providers, the red X will allow you to remove all of those measures. And then you can go in and reconfigure again if needed. You also have the option to review all the measures that you have added instead, and then kind of select specific measures for deletion instead of that all measure feature. So if you click on the provider name, I will give you that option to remove that one or two specific measures instead of all measures. Now, for group deletion, if you have more than one provider that you need to remove measures for, the group icon allows you to change the grouping for these providers. So all configured measures will populate for that group, and all the providers within that group that the measure is configured for will also populate. So the drop-down area will allow you to kind of see the measures that are currently configured, and then allows you to either move on to the next or delete that specific measure from the whole group of providers. Again, when you're removing from the providers, the red X is how you're going to remove it from everybody that's been configured in that area. Go through a couple quality category highlights here. So for 2021, just so that you're aware, it's 40% of your final score. Again, it's a full year of data. There's over 200 measures available for selection. Same thing, we need to select at least 6 measures for submission, including 1 high priority and 1 outcome measure. Data must be included for at least 70% of your patients. There are multiple specialty sets available on the CMS website, and you need to have a 20 case minimum. There are bonus points available again this year. So if you submit 2 or more outcome or high priority measures, bonus points might be in play for you. Using end-to-end electronic reporting gives you another way to collect some extra points. If you are a small practice and are kind of noted to be a small practice from CMS, you are able to get 6 bonus points for this category. And then a lot of people don't know or haven't heard that, you can add some extra points based on your improvement for this category from your previous year. So keep that all in mind. CMS has updated their 2021 page for quality. So I've included the link here so that you can kind of look and check that all out. Fact sheets, resources, details are all available there for the category. And make sure you guys are reviewing the quality benchmarks for 2021 and making sure you're kind of reviewing the different choices that you have, the eCQM, which is the end-to-end reporting, or the MIPS CQM, et cetera, so that you're really kind of understanding the difference between the benchmarks while you're working through your decision making process for the measures. All right, we'll move on to the PI configuration. So like I said previously, all the different areas are configured the same way. However, for the promoting interoperability area, you also have those self-attestation measures that you'll need to configure before you're able to kind of submit information. Now, these self-attestation measures, they're not going to give you kind of like details in regards to percentages or points or anything like that. However, just note that those do need to be configured. So again, 2021, the PI category has those 4 required measures, and then you still do have that 1 bonus measure available for the PDMP, and then those self-attestation measures. So again, we kind of noted before that the self-attestation measures are starred, or required measures, I should say, are starred. Exclusion measures, make sure you're kind of reviewing the different options if you are claiming an exclusion to make sure you're making the appropriate choice. Hovering over those The wording, again, will give you those specific details regarding any kind of exclusion or any kind of measure that you're adding. So within that configuration measure, you also have promoting interoperability settings. So these, when you select from that config menu, you can see that the PI settings allow you to configure secure messaging information, your business schedule, which allows you to kind of indicate the day your practice is open, closed, etc. for that patient exchange objective. Also allows you to configure any kind of practice exclusions related to summary of care, CPOE, and your secure messaging. Now note that most practices do have like the PHR enabled to meet the timely access measure. So this feature wouldn't have impact on that, but if for some reason you don't have that PHR enabled, you will need to go in here and make sure that you have those settings configured correctly. Transition of care area is just used to kind of specify the external systems and direct messaging address. Couple highlights for 2021 PI category. So the PI category, 25% of your final score. You have that single set of objectives and measures. You're required to use that 2015 CERT, 2015 Cures update criteria, or a combination of both. 90-day reporting period again for the PI category. You're gonna again need to provide that CMS identification code for your EHR again, and the 3 self-attestation required measures are the prevention of information blocking, ONC direct review, and your security risk. Bonus points, again, PDMP points are available if you're utilizing that feature. You are allowed bonus points again this year. Scoring, make sure that you guys understand that, if you're have those 2 different registries available, public health clinical data exchange, you're awarded full points if you're submitting a yes for 2 registries, or even if you've only got 1 registry enabled and you've selected a yes for 1 exclusion, or a yes to 1 exclusion. Note that, for other measures, if exclusions are claimed, the points are reallocated to additional measures within the program. Again, CMS has made updates to their page for 2021. Lots of great resources there for your review. Be aware and be prepared. Big thing throughout the year that you guys should really be focusing on is, making sure you're gathering your audit binder necessities, reviewing your policies, procedures, reviewing all the criteria and suggested documentation that CMS makes available so that you're prepared in case you are audited for any reason. Just collecting that information, making sure you've got that in so that it's not a mad rush at the end of the year. So a lot of people don't know, but the CMS does give you kind of some suggested materials to collect for your PI categories as well. Improvement activity configuration, again, same kind of configuration options. You'll select those different improvement activities that might be applicable for you. NextGen usually releases this kind of a little bit later in the year for configuration. Again, it's not like you're kind of populating reports related to this. It is all pretty much self-monitored, collecting information and making sure you have validation related to any of the measures that you selected available for your audit. Not a lot of people knew that, CMS did require qualified registries to validate that the clients met specific documentation for the IA measures they selected. So last year was the first year that happened. NextGen was able to auto-validate some of the activities. They had a list, I think it was like 12 or 14 that they were able to auto-validate. However, if one of those measures that you selected wasn't available for auto-validation, then they did have to kind of review your specific information that you've collected around that activity and suggested documentation that CMS provided. So make sure, again, that you've got information on your company's letterhead. Make sure you're preparing for that validation and preparing all your documentation now, updating policies, procedures, anything like that that you might need for that category. I know it's only May, but the year seems to go by super fast. Some 2021 category highlights for in the improvement activities is that it's 15% of your final score, 90-day reporting period. Remember that your high weighted activities receive 20 points, medium weighted receive 10 points, and combinations here have been provided so that you can kind of review what combinations you might be able to submit for. And remember, if you have that special status, such as a small practice, you receive double points for each high or medium weight activity that's submitted. Updates to the CMS improvement activity page. Check it out, explore, view all the details related to your improvement activity. Again, a lot of people don't understand that you do have to understand the activity or activities that you're selecting and make sure you're prepared and have the information and make sure everyone in your practice understands what you guys have selected and why. Again, there's specifications and documentation that CMS provides to you. Make sure you're updating and reviewing policies, procedures, etc. for your selections. Some additional configuration is available as well. Editing measure goal settings allows you to kind of set goals for measures for different programs and individual measures within a program. Won't get into this too much, but you do have this option available. You also have your Medicare verification configuration. So identifying payer IDs as Medicare Part B or Railroad payers is definitely needed for accurate reporting. And note, if you haven't done this, you'll see an alert on your homepage letting you know that this hasn't been done yet. So you'll need to navigate to this page to complete that. You also are able to configure test patients that you've created in your database so that these won't be counted on any of your results for any of the reporting. So make sure you're kind of reviewing that information and populating that and configuring that as applicable. All right, I know we are running a little short on time here, but we'll go through our submission kind of overview so that you guys can kind of see some information related to submissions when we're ready to submit data to CMS for our MIPS reporting year. NextGen, again, has some great information available, so make sure you guys are really checking it out. So they have readiness checklists and deadlines available, guides that help you kind of review information and prepare for this time of the year. Now, getting ready, like to submit your data, will probably require you to kind of like play around within your HQM tool and kind of configure different things, maybe add some different measures, maybe remove measures, etc. But just remember that every time you do some kind of configuration or alter a configuration, you guys do need to remember to regenerate your reports so that this will allow the system to kind of refresh the information that has been changed and allow you to kind of pull accurate reports as, you know, based on that new configuration that you've completed. So always remember that, you know, if you've done something and then you just go and run a report, it's not going to show up until you complete that regenerate report feature. Again, here's a listing kind of what makes the program or what makes a need for regeneration. You can view this listing in the HQM by navigating to that regenerate reports page and just selecting the question mark, in case you didn't know. One of the things that you're able to view is after you have generated a report, you can kind of look at what's called a validation report. So this option allows you to kind of verify any kind of accuracy and completeness before you go ahead and submit data. So the validation report icon just alerts you to any issues that may be found while you're kind of going through and running all those different reports, getting ready for MIPS submission. All three categories are identical when you are getting ready to submit. Once you've checked, configured, rechecked, and completed any additional configurations to find that best reporting outcome, you're ready to begin that submission process, generate and view your submission files. So in order to generate your files for submission, you would just go to that admin menu drop-down and select your program submissions. Again, if your reports are not available for the program, then you need to evaluate and see why. Any files that are ready to generate become visible after a few minutes or after the page is refreshed. This kind of alerts you to how many files are generated, your warnings and errors display in color, total number of warnings are here. So lots of information on this page. Depending on your program submission period, you'll see different display options. Again, like closed for submission, open for submission, etc., are some of the statuses that you'll be able to kind of see here. Reviewing files just allows you to kind of review each program category's file and what's housed in the file. Some information there on that for you. Errors and warnings. If you didn't know, errors kind of populate and are noted with a red left side border. Warnings populate and they have an orange left side border. Most common reasons for like a warning would be, you know, a provider has less than 100 patients noted, or they have less than 20 in their denominator. Just remember that errors and warnings will prevent you from kind of submitting any kind of MIPS data until they're corrected. Reminder that after you resolve them, any kind of errors in the program submission file, you need to make sure you have a job run so that the submission files are regenerated. Approve and submit. So once you've confirmed everything, you'll have the option to approve the file and then submit the file as well. So once selected, approving, then your status will change to approving and you'll be able to kind of see that that label changes and is followed by a check mark. After you've submitted, make sure you guys check out the MIPS dashboard. Great resource. It allows you to kind of see your provider performance for all three categories, what kind of your final score was. You can review, you can preview. You can also preview your preliminary submitted scores for both individual and group providers. So it's a great resource that NextGen has available to you. So make sure you check it. All right, sorry that was a lot of information in a short period of time, but what are next steps? So are you feeling unsure or overwhelmed, or you just need some additional help? We're totally here for you. We can assess your current readiness, provide recommendations, help you create processes and procedures around all of your MIPS or other programs that you might be interested in or working on. Workflow adjustments. We support you throughout the year, troubleshoot and identify issues. So we are here for you. Make sure that you contact us if you need to. I've provided our link to our contact page here, as well as my information in case you have questions or just need some additional assistance, feel free to reach out. So with that, I appreciate everybody's time today. Let us know if you have questions. I don't think we're going to be able to get to them all today, but if you've chatted anything to us or if you want to reach out using that information I've provided, I'm happy to answer those questions you might have.
Thank you, everybody, for your time today. Again, you'll receive an email with the recording and copy of the slides. As Christina said, if you guys need any additional help or info, have any questions that come up after the webinar, feel free to send those to us. Her email will be on there. You can also send them at info@emedapps.com or fill out the form on our website. Or if you know your sales rep, feel free to reach out to them as well. We're happy to help at any time. Thanks, guys, and have a good afternoon.